Reaching you live from the nation's capital, this is the 6th edition of News Central TV. I'm Neota Egbe. Our top stories at this hour. President Tinubu signs Electoral Amendment Act into law following passage by the National Assembly. At least 2 killed in APC World Congress in Ondo State. Violence erupts in Idanre, local council. Pope Leo XIV launches Christian fasting, calls for compassion and spiritual renewal. Details in a moment. President Bola Tinubu has signed the Electoral Act 2026 into law, repealing the 2022 version. The new legislation introduces sweeping reforms to Nigeria's voting framework and election management system. The Senate approved compulsory electronic transmission of results, maintaining manual collation only as a backup. This move, they say, would enhance transparency while ensuring data integrity during technical failures. The legislative shift sparked significant controversy and public outrage across Nigeria. Now, Nigeria's National Assembly passed the 2026 amended Electoral Act on February the 17th, mandating electronic result transmission. The new law compresses timelines, tightens voter ID requirements, and increases penalties. Now, the 2026 Act reduces election notice to 300 days. Funding must reach INEC 6 months pre-election, with compressed windows for candidate submission and publication. Electronic transmission to the IREV is now compulsory. The BVAS remains the accreditation standard, while physical EC8A sheets serve as primary backups during technical failures. Registration is limited to NIN passports as a traveler's passport or the birth certificate. While PVCs are mandatory, voters can now download cards online to prevent disenfranchisement. Indirect primaries have now been abolished, leaving only direct primaries and consensus candidature. Parties retain autonomy over these modes, though internal guidelines now regulate direct primaries. The amended law introduces a tougher stance on misconduct. Statutory fines and custodial sentences for electoral offences have been adjusted upward from the 2022 standards. I'm now being joined in the studio by the head of Northern Operations and Abuja Bureau Chief Amadine Uyi. Thank you for joining us, Amadine.
Thank you, Neota.
Some will say, why did the president rush? But he has signed it. It's now a law. We now have the Electoral Act 2026. But this happened in the midst of cries, hues and cries by the citizenry. Why do you think this was rushed, seemingly rushed?
Okay, I think we had come to a point where, whether we like it or not, INEC had given a notice about sometime last week, and the formal law stated for 360 days. That was why the election was fixed for February. And then the election was already being threatened, and such that there might be a possibility there would be a constitutional crisis, such that the election will not hold. So in the midst of everything, the president has come out to say, I know citizens have expressed their views. The lawmakers have been able to sit down, harmonize the different versions, but now let's put a law so that we have a law for the upcoming elections. Remember notably that that notice of 360 days was reduced to 300 days,
yes,
which means that the election timetable can be reduced, such that the election can even hold January or even December, because that is 300 days, minimum of 300 days. So we have a situation where the new law has given some sort of flexibility to the process. Remember that a few days ago, Christian and Muslim faithful have come out to say, wow, this is a time where we have religious obligations.
Yes, we have the Ramadan month and the Lent period.
Yes. So INEC needed to review. But INEC had to act within the constitutional framework, constitutional provision it had. So now that the president has signed the law, INEC has been given that freedom to be able to say, okay, we can listen to your cry and then
we
adjust the date for
timetable.
election.
Okay.
Some people always forget that INEC cannot act outside the law. It is the Electoral Act and the Constitution that is presented to INEC that INEC can act no matter how much Nigerians complain. So now the president has been fair to Nigerians. That constitution which the Senate and the House of Representatives considered to reduce it from 360 days to 300 days. Now the president has signed it into law. Okay. I think that should be commended.
So, but do you think this law, the 2026 law, will be used for the FCT polls that are coming up this weekend?
It has just been signed to a large extent. I think it will, because it is now a law. The FCT polls is about 7 days. I remember you talked about stricter sanctions for election offences. And INEC had complained in previous years that, see, we don't have the capacity. Even if we catch people snatching ballot boxes, unleashing violence, remember the unsavory pictures we had in the last elections where you saw thugs took it upon themselves, even if they were arrested. INEC said, we don't have the capacity. So INEC had kept on complaining to the lawmakers, make amendments, make it unpalatable for people to be able to carry out election misconduct.
Yeah.
Because they know that the law is harder. If they are caught and they are prosecuted, the law is harder. It's not a tap on the wrist kind of thing as it used to be before. So for FCT polls now, those who have the mind, who have already made up their minds,
thinking of it,
yes, are already thinking of going to unleash mayhem. This will bring violence into the polls. They should just be worried because there's a new law in town.
Thank you very much. Abani Uyi is our head of Abuja, Northern Operations and Abuja Bureau Chief. Thank you for coming in this evening.
Thank you, Nelson.
We also have joining us Emmanuel Osemeka, a public affairs analyst who joins us virtually. Thank you for joining us, Emmanuel. So yeah, this law is now, it is now a law, the Electoral Act 2026. But what do you think? Was the president move in time one and in line with the demand of Nigerians?
Well, I mean, the reality is that we have this coming. When you see the Senate president moving in the direction he was moving, and the way they were dancing around the compulsory e-transmission, of course, with the proviso, which the Senate insisted must be there, and of course, having the House of Representatives rescind the decision they concluded in December 2025, and with the level of brigandage that took place, when that decision was taken on the floor of the House yesterday, it showed clearly the direction APC, was going. So it was very clear that APC as a political party had made up their mind, and of course the government had made up their mind the way and manner they desire the 2027 election to pan out. So the president signing it is not surprising to me. But I thought that normally when laws are passed, it goes through bureaucracy. The Attorney General will take a look at it and his team to ensure that there are no contradictions with the Constitution and all that, because the Constitution is a ground norm. And of course, if you have provisions that infringe on the Constitution, of course, the Constitution will take a precedent. But of course, every government will act according to their understanding, their knowledge, and of course, the vision they have. So we have a new law. That's it. However, I want to say that for the LGA elections coming up in Abuja, the new law cannot take effect because the laws are not retroactive in nature. The plans and guidelines and what have you for the Abuja local government election had already been released and everything had been concluded. So there's no way this new law that was passed today will be used for the FCT election. So I just wanted to put that out.
But I will hear from INEC in the course of the week to look at that. But you said something earlier about the seeming rush that Nigerians will argue, and indeed some lawyers will argue, that if the national anthem could be changed in a day or two, this wasn't actually a rush. I mean, Maybe the Attorney General will still have time or had time to look at it before the president signed it. Who knows? But do you think that there might be some gaps in this law that has just been signed? Do you think there might be some gaps that might cause issues even before the next elections?
First, let's pray that there are no clerical issues, just like we had with the new tax law. That's number one. Number two, if you recall, in 2022, when the new electoral framework came out, you recall that even the National Assembly members erroneously excluded themselves from primaries. That was an error. They didn't plan it that way because they hurriedly passed the law. They had 2 years from 2023 till now to make amendments to the last amendment to the 2022 Act. But of course, we all know that there are clear plans, and it remains to be seen how the political implementation of this law would, happen. INEC will be able to come out and tell us. Then, of course, the politicians themselves will also show themselves clearly. But the reality is that we cannot continue to operate like this. This is a major law that guides the, planning, implementation, and execution of the general election, where over 91 million registered Nigerians are supposed to vote in, where the lives of 250 million plus Nigerians is decided. I mean, we shouldn't be behaving like this. We can do better than we are doing right now. And I hope and pray that the 2027 general election will throw up, seasoned, dedicated, and very patriotic, honest, sincere Nigerians that will, occupy both the Aso Rock and, of course, the parliamentary seats.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Emmanuel Osemeka is a public affairs analyst who joined us virtually. Thank you for coming in this evening, and we wish you well.
My pleasure. Thank you, Nathan. Yeah, God bless.
While still talking about elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has called on political parties, candidates, and voters to ensure peaceful and credible area council elections come February the 21st, 2026. The commission says that over 1,680,000 registered voters will cast ballots across 2,822 polling units in the 6 area councils. The chairman of the commission, Professor Joash Amupitan, spoke to newsmen in Abuja, saying all preparations have been completed, including the distribution of PVCs, training of nearly 12,000 ad hoc staff, and the deployment of upgraded BVAS machines for accreditation and result transmission.
Saturday, 21st February 2026, over 1.6 million registered voters across the 2,822 polling units will make their choice. Our collective duty is to ensure that their votes are cast freely, counted accurately, and reflected transparently. The credibility of this process has strengthened the confidence in grassroots democracy. Therefore, as we approach the Saturday election, we must collectively resolve to raise the bar even higher than it has been. To further strengthen public confidence, the Commission conducted a mock accreditation exercise using the improved BVAS in 289 polling units across the FCT. We encourage all registered political parties, all registered voters who have collected their PVCs to turn out peacefully on election day and exercise their franchise in an orderly manner.
When we return, we'll be looking at certain situations that led to the death of some members of the APC in Ondo State. We'll bring you details in a moment. At least 2 persons were reportedly killed on Wednesday during the Ward Congress of the All Progressives Congress in Ondo State as violence erupted in Idanre, local government area. Several others were said to have sustained injuries during the crisis, which also led to the burning of a vehicle. The incident came barely 24 hours after suspected political thugs disrupted the stakeholders' meeting at the party secretariat in Akure. The meeting was presided over by the state chairman of the party, Adetimehin. Sources in Idanre says the Congress could not hold in some wards as hoodlums allegedly attacked the party members. The Rail now come for Fubara land. Gani Adams has condemned alleged plans by terrorists to strike communities in the Oyun local government area of Kwara State, including Iro, Inaja, and Aho. He said a threatening letter allegedly dropped at Iro Market has raised fear among residents about possible violence. Adams called on the federal government, the Kwara State government, and security agencies to act swiftly to prevent any attack and protect lives. Now, at least 37 miners have died and 25 others are receiving medical care after suspected carbon monoxide exposure at a mining site in Zurak, Wassa local government area of Plateau State. The incident occurred on Tuesday as the workers inhaled toxic gas built up in poorly ventilated tunnels during the routine operations. Eyewitnesses reported miners collapsing inside the shafts, prompting on-site teams to go down the area and assist survivors to a nearby health facility. The Plateau State Police have secured the scene and begun investigations to determine the exact cause of the gas leak and risk factors at the site. Muslim faithful across Nigeria today are completing the first fast day of the Ramadan, the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, a sacred period devoted to prayer, fasting, charity, and spiritual reflection. As the sun sets this evening, families and worshippers are gathering in mosque to break their fast, marking the end of day one of the holy month. Our correspondent Aisha Salihu is live at the mosque in Utaku, Abuja, and brings us more on how the Muslims are influenced by the holy month. Based on your interaction with the worshippers there, what is the significance of this month and what are their decisions already, their plans and all?
Well, Nelta, we are currently at a mosque here in Utaku, Abuja, Nasrullahi Fatih Society Mosque, where you can see behind me and also right from the gate, worshippers are trooping in their numbers, ahead of Iftar. I mean, in a few minutes from now, the breaking of the fast, the first day of the Ramadan, the breaking of the fast would be happening. And also here you can see some worshippers here performing ablution for the prayers. Currently ongoing is the pre-Ramadan lecture that is being held in this masjid. We're still in the premises of the masjid, and part of the significance of the holy month from my interaction with the people here would be that it's the month that the revelation of the Holy Quran was revealed to the Holy Prophet of Islam, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And also in this month, Ramadan is part of the 5 pillars of the religion, Islam, and also the month is a month of spirituality. It teaches a high level of restriction amongst others. But I'd like to bring to the fore many of the worshippers who are here, some of them who would like to speak to us about what this means to them. Good evening, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Yes, I'm very well, ma'am. Please look to the camera. I'd like to hear from you. What does this month mean to you? What does it signify to you?
It's only month of Ramadan that the Holy Quran was revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and is guidance to all the Muslims to be thankful in their religion and also to support ourselves, the needy, and that is what this month is meant for, to help others. You see all the people that came around to break their fast here, is bring unity to the Muslim Ummah and other non-Muslim. They must invite even the non-Muslim to come and break fast with them. It is the month of unity, it is month of holiness, it is month of blessing. And most of the time when you fast, it is month of forgiveness. All sin that we have committed for the past 11 months, this single month, the Holy Prophet has promised us that whatever our sins will be forgiven by the special grace of Almighty Allah.
Well, Nelta, you've heard from one worshipper here. I'd like to bring forth another worshipper who would tell you what this month means to her. Good evening, ma'am.
Evening.
I'd like to hear from you. What does Ramadan teach?
Actually, this is the month of Ramadan, alhamdulillah. We are in the month of forgiveness, to get more closer to Allah, than to reading our Quran, to the spirit of giving. Sorry, I meant to say giving is there. So we are in the month of doing all the good thing, and Allah will reward us abundantly.
Well, you've heard from a few of the worshippers here. That's the much we can take from the worshippers who are here. But as you can see behind me, other worshippers are trooping in, and you can see even right here some persons who are the less privileged, vulnerable people, right here waiting for the time of to break the fast. And we're still in the premises of the masjid, and this is all that we can bring to you at the moment. Nilta.
Thank you very much, Aisha, and we wish you well as you break your first day of the fast. All right, let's go on now. The Catholic faithful around the world today began the solemn season of Lent. Christians around the country have been called to embrace genuine repentance, prayer, and a renewed commitment to God. Our correspondent Charles Pius joined the Christians for the Ash Wednesday service in Abuja and tells us more.
Christian worshippers converge on the Church of Assumption, Asokoro, Abuja, for this Ash Wednesday service, which begins the season of Lent. It's an opportunity to dedicate themselves to God through selflessness and sacrifice.
At the personal level, and that is perhaps where it should start, each and every one of us should take time to acknowledge how much we have not been doing things properly, the areas where we have failed. And that is what happens when you will receive the cross. You'll be told, repent and believe the gospel.
Speaking on the significance of the season, the cleric notices that this year's Ash Wednesday coincides with the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, describing the moment as deeply symbolic and an opportunity for people of different faiths to reflect, fast, and seek spiritual renewal together.
And the man in the television station was saying, today God has done it that both Muslims and Catholics are going on repentance. That Catholics are going for Lent and Muslims are going for Ramadan. Most people think Lent is for us Catholics, even though Lent is for every Christian. That things are not going well in our nation, surely it's clear. Even those who pretend that everything is fine, because they're the ones responsible for our malaise. This is time to ask God, forgive us all.
Meanwhile, worshippers who attended the Ash Wednesday Mass shared what the season of Lent means to them and why it remains personally significant in their spiritual lives.
Today is a day to remind us that we come from ash and to ash we return, and the futility of this life and the things we run around for every day. That is basically what it is.
The Lenten period signifies a time of repentance and humility.
It's a period where you have to have deep introspection, reflection as to what your life is all about.
While Lent is observed by Catholics across the world as a period of 40 days, it is accompanied by the trail of fasting, prayer, and self-denial, a sacred journey marked with humility and a solemn reverence to God. In Abuja for News Central, I'm Charles Pius.
In the meantime, for the 2026 Lenten period, Pope Leo XIV is observing his first as pontiff with a message centered on listening and fasting. The message calls on Catholics and Christians to return to the essentials of their faith, step away from daily distractions, and deepen their relationship with God. Beyond abstaining from food, the Pope is encouraging believers to fast from harsh language, gossip, and unkind words, promoting compassion in personal, professional, and social media interactions. On Ash Wednesday, February 18th, he led the traditional Lenten pilgrimage from the Benedictine monastery of St. Anselm to the Basilica of Santa Sabina in Rome. The observance this year placed strong emphasis on justice, reconciliation, and attentiveness to both God and the vulnerable. Let's look at something else now, away from the spiritual side of things. Let's go to a bit of the physical. February the 17th every year is regarded as Pancake Day. Yeah, you heard me right, Pancake Day. Whether you call it Shrovetide or Mardi Gras, this day is most popular in many parts of the UK, US, Canada, and France. Though not a public holiday in Nigeria, many Nigerian families are joining in, flipping pancakes or just reminiscing on their childhood memories during the season. So how do Nigerians like their pancakes? Sweet or savory? Our correspondent Chisom Okafor tells us more.
Global calendar, February 17th every year is World Pancake Day. It is the final feast before the 40-day fast of Lent, marked by millions around the world. But why pancakes? While the world enjoys vibrant parades, the tradition is rooted in shriving or soul cleansing. But here at home in Nigeria, the sizzle of the pan is a quieter affair, often seen as a treat for more privileged families. The day remains a niche tradition rather than a national staple.
Actually, we do pancake as our initials, but we don't actually hold this day as a culture in our establishments. But pancake is one of our best and top sellers. One of our niches, all day breakfast, all day brunch. So both morning, 7 p.m., even when we are closing, people still come to order pancakes.
I like pancake, but I don't really eat it much because of the sugar. I used to know that pancake day is 3 days after Valentine. I've been busy since when I didn't even check.
For many Nigerians, pancakes aren't a day-to-day meal, but a weekend luxury reserved for slow Saturday mornings.
No way, I'm just sharing it for the first time. I make it and I have people that eat it a lot.
Let's say twice in a month. It's not that often. You know, as a Nigerian now, it's not a regular kind of meal. So I had no idea that today is pancake day. It's something that I eat once in a while for breakfast.
While the world flips pancakes to clear their pantries, most of us will wait for the weekend to indulge. In Abuja for News Central, Chisom Okafor.
When a sixth edition returns, I was just going to ask you about if you had your pancakes yesterday or had it today. Well, I know a couple of people that had theirs today. But anyway, when sixth edition returns, we'll be looking at efforts to provide access to decent and affordable housing. Just stay with us. While everyone is concerned about the housing deficit in Nigeria, some others are making efforts and making commitment to providing access to decent and affordable housing. One of them, Homedeal Realities Limited. The chief executive officer of the company, Rebecca Godwin Isaac, made this known during the groundbreaking ceremony of its premier housing development, Summit Estate Global, located in the Ondo State district of the Federal Capital Territory. Our correspondent Joshua Imari reports.
The Ondo State district of Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory is set for transformation as Homedeal Realty Limited breaks ground for its flagship housing project, Summit Estate Global. Representing Nigeria's Vice President at the ceremony, Senior Special Assistant on Legal and Compliance, Bashir Madugu, says that the development is expected to create a reliable residential ecosystem for families and businesses alike.
A residential estate must not only provide housing units, but a functional ecosystem, reliable access roads, drainage, power solutions, green spaces, and secured environment. It must anticipate future needs and incorporate resilience and sustainability. I'm pleased that Summit Estate Global aspires to meet these standards.
The Chief Executive Officer of Homedeal Realty Limited, Rebecca Godwin Isaac, says that beyond delivering affordable homes, the project is designed to stimulate economic growth through job creation and empowerment opportunities for Nigerians.
It has to offer employment to start with and to empower a lot of Nigerians and to help them to build a sustainable homes and give them luxury for their money. So I'm doing joint venture with the first allotee, which is Salamat Consent, that has offer letter. Then secondly, there's a building approval from development control. Then all legal documentation is being handled properly.
Developers say the estate will feature over 200,000 units, alongside supporting infrastructure, including a shopping mall, a gym, aimed at promoting comfortable and modern living.
At the heart of this project is quality. We want the highest quality of work, and that's what we're working on. Even from the security house, you can see that you can see a sample, and this is just a security house. The properties will be, I think it will be a lot a lot better than the Security House.
First off, it's a sense of pride, knowing that Madam Rebecca is, the CEO of Omadale Realty, and seeing this, Ondo State is going to get a new face, on the map. It's a thing of pride. I'm happy that she's not only doing this alone, she's doing it with her family. Her husband is one of the engineers that's going to be working on this project. She's bringing luxury to this vicinity. She's bringing luxury, she's bringing excellence, she's bringing affordability. And I'm glad to have been here at the official launch.
With plans for over 200 housing units, a shopping mall, and recreational facilities, developers say Summit Estate Global is positioned to redefine affordable living in Ondo State. For prospective homeowners and investors, the project represents not just a place to live, but a growing community designed to meet modern housing needs. In Abuja, for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
The Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has been honored with the Man of the Year 2025 award by New Telegraph newspapers. The award, in recognition of his astuteness and dedication to governance, was presented at a colorful ceremony held in Lagos State. News Central's Bola Festus reports.
It was an evening of recognition and celebration as the governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara, received the prestigious Man of the Year 2025 award by the New Telegraph newspaper. The organizers say the award acknowledges Governor Fubara's strides in delivering people-centered programs and advancing infrastructural development across the state.
It's a great pleasure to present to Governor Fubara of Rivers State the Man of the Year. And I will ask the Governor of Southern to support my motion.
I hereby support that motion, and this award should go to the right person, my brother Fubara. Thank you.
For the governor, the award is yet another befitting feather added to his cap for resilience, bravery, and commitment to service, while recognizing the role of the FCT Minister, Nyesom Wike, in his journey to power.
Today for me is a very special day, and also special for everyone who has believed in me. And I know for believing in me, you have a share of special pain. Some of these pains, some persons describe them as weakness, while others see it as being strong. But I choose, for a lot of reasons, to be weak. Weak because I want peace. Weak because we need to survive. Weak because I need to also protect those things that are dear, not just to me, but to our dear nation. To also dedicate this award to somebody who also discovered me, not minding the situation, the Honorable Minister of FCT, my honor. He discovered me, and it's a discovery that gave me this loudness.
According to the management of the New Telegraph, the choice of Governor Fubara as the newspaper's Man of the Year came through a painstaking screening and evaluation process. In Lagos, for News Central, Bola Festus.
President Bola Tinubu has charged traditional and religious leaders within the country to take ownership of Nigeria's health reforms, adding that no meaningful transformation can occur without their intervention. This was as stakeholders converged in Abuja for the inaugural National Traditional and Religious Leaders Summit on Health 2026, aimed at strengthening grassroots participation in the drive towards universal health coverage.
This summit is premised on the foundation of the Nigeria Health Sector Renewal Compact signed in December 2023 to include the contribution of traditional and religious leaders in the country's health reforms. The First Lady of Nigeria opened the summit with a flag of advocacy and awareness campaign on the National Community Food Bank Program, an initiative designed to tackle child malnutrition in vulnerable households across the country starting in April 2026.
To identify and register eligible families with children under 6 years old. Caregivers will receive counseling and be given food vouchers that they can redeem for nutritious, locally grown food at food banks that will be established close to the health centers.
The traditional and religious leaders, however, committed to being partners in advancing the country's health sector reforms.
We pledge to utilize platforms, policies, councils, and community forums to promote routine immunization, disease prevention, maternal and child health services.
We cannot stand at the margins of health reform. We must stand at the very center.
We commit to continue using our mosque and other platforms to educate our communities.
The Minister of Health moved to propose an Asokoro Declaration of Health 2026 to improve reforms and then presented the 2025 State of Health Report to the President.
To actively support and promote access to comprehensive range of essential health services within our communities, including immunization, HIV, TB, malaria, treatment and prevention, comprehensive maternal natal care, emergency obstetric services, and nutrition, including the food bank.
In his remarks, President Bola Tinubu emphasized the need for all leaders and government to work together.
It is the foundation of a new national alliance for health that we want to foster, because the government cannot achieve the goal of reform alone. We're asking for your partnership.
As community leaders commit to amplifying public health messaging, it is hoped that the collaboration will transform into tangible outcomes for the country's health sector. In Abuja, for News Central, Aishat Salihu.
Away from health to security, the chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on National Security and Intelligence, Ahmed Satomi, has appealed to President Bola Tinubu to review the allocation to the intelligence sector in the interest of strengthening national security. He was speaking during the budget defense session of the intelligence subsector, comprising the Office of the National Security Advisor and its agencies, the Department of State Services, the National Intelligence Agency, the Presidential Air Fleet, and the National Institute for Security Studies. Now, he raised concerns over the state of infrastructure in security training institutions visited across the country and urged the president to prioritize funding for the institutions. The permanent secretary of the agency, Special Services, in the Office of the National Security Advisor, lamented the non-release of funds to the intelligence sector in 2025, stating that only about 30% of the capital allocation was released at the end of the year.
Further breakdown shows that the personnel cost for all agencies in the intelligence sector in 2026, total overhead cost for proposal 103 billion, and total proposed capital expenditure of 386. These allocations are indeed very abysmal and does not seem much with the intent of the speech delivered by Mr. President to the joint session of the National Assembly. One would have expected that if indeed the provision of welfare and security is the primary purpose of government, then releases to the security sector should not be threatened privately. This committee is therefore will not relent in making sure the Ministry of Finance and the Office of the Accountant General to do the needful. No second option. This committee is therefore making its passionate appeal to our dear President to please look into the funding of the agencies of the intelligence sector and the security, not only prioritize them in budget, because no country has run security sector in budget provision annually.
The intelligence community is not without challenges. Some of the key challenges encountered by the community in the implementation of 2025 budget includes, among others, the envelope system of budgeting constitutes a lot of constraint in terms of resource allocation to the intelligence community, Mr. Chair. There's irregular releases of overhead costs. None of the agency has more than 30% overhead release to it. Non-implementation of the releases of 2025 capital, Mr. Chairman, only 30% were released on 31st December to the intelligence community.
Still ahead on the 6th edition, reasons behind the suspension of social media in Gabon. We'll look at that when we return. Just stay with us. Gabon's media regulator has suspended social media nationwide until further notice, citing rising online content it says is fueling conflict and division. The High Authority for Communication announced the decision through spokesman Jean-Claude Mendam, warning that harmful posts, misinformation, cyberbullying, and data breaches threaten national security and social cohesion. Authorities did not name affected platforms, but stressed freedom of expression remains protected. The move comes amid growing labor unrest under President Brice Nguema as teachers strike over pay and conditions, and other public sector workers signal possible industrial action across Gabon in the coming weeks amid heightened tensions nationwide.
La Haute Autorité de la Communication AC constate la diffusion récurrente sur les réseaux sociaux et les plateformes numériques accessibles sur le territoire gabonais de contenus inappropriés, diffamatoires, haineux, injurieux, portant atteinte à la dignité humaine, aux bonnes mœurs, à l'honneur des citoyens, à la cohésion sociale, à la stabilité des institutions de la République et à la sécurité nationale. L'Acte tient à rappeler que la liberté d'expression, y compris la liberté de commentaire et de critique, bien qu'étant un droit fondamental consacré au Gabon et garanti par la Haute Autorité de la Communication, ne saurait s'exercer en violation flagrante des lois nationales et internationales en vigueur.
Data from Statistics South Africa shows official unemployment rate eased to 31.4% in the fourth quarter of 2025, down from 31.9%. Employment rose to 17.1 million and the number of unemployed fell to 7.8 million. However, the labor force shrank by 128,000, signaling fewer people are working or seeking work. Youth unemployment remains critical at 61%, with 5.8 million young people jobless. The major industry staff association is urging urgent, practical reforms focused on skills development and sustainable job creation. United States Special Envoy Steve Witkoff says negotiations between Russia and Ukraine in Geneva have made meaningful progress as talks enter a second day on the U.S. mediation. President Donald Trump says his administration remains committed to ending the conflict. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has warned against any concessions that could favor Moscow. The Kremlin has reiterated its territorial demands, with Russia currently controlling about 20% of Ukrainian territory. Officials say discussions are exploring possible frameworks to halt the fighting. However, despite the diplomatic push, military operations by both sides continued overnight. And crowds have gathered across several Iranian cities to mark memorials for protesters killed during recent unrest, with many openly chanting slogans against Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. The videos circulating online show demonstrators calling for political change, defying security warnings. Witnesses report a heavy security presence around the cemeteries and public squares, with incidents of clashes and detentions. The memorials have once again become rallying points for dissent, underscoring ongoing tensions between authorities and citizens demanding reforms. And in the U.S., a frantic search is underway in California's Sierra Nevada mountains for 10 backcountry skiers missing after a massive avalanche struck Castle Peak on Tuesday. Officials say a group of 16 people, including 4 guides and 12 clients, were caught in the snowslide. 6 skiers have been located and instructed to shelter in place while rescue teams battle worsening storm conditions to reach the remaining missing. Nevada's county authorities confirmed 46 emergency responders are involved, but continued heavy snow and whiteout conditions are hampering efforts. The Sierra Avalanche Center warns high avalanche dangers persist through Wednesday. Fiber optic cable damage in Nigeria surged by 900% in January 2026, jumping 4 incidents in December 2025 to 40, according to the Nigerian Communications Commission. This sharp increase marks one of the steepest month-on-month rises in recent months, highlighting persistent vulnerabilities in the country's telecommunications infrastructure. The spike comes despite the federal government's 2024 designation of telecom networks as critical national information infrastructure, a policy intended to safeguard these assets against vandalism and accidental damage. Experts warn that continued fiber cuts could disrupt internet connectivity and digital services nationwide if preventative measures are not enforced. And that's it on the 6th edition for today, but let's look at the headlines again. We told you that President Tinubu has signed the new Electoral Act into law following passage by the National Assembly. And 2 people were killed in the APC World Congress in Ondo, even as violence erupted in Idanre local government council. We also told you that Pope Leo XIV has launched the Christian fasting and called for compassion and spiritual renewal. Remember, you may send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp numbers showing on your screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV on all the platforms. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Able TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow. I'm Neota Igwe.